Hi everyone. So in this video I'm going to show some of the floats and end tackle what I like using. As you can see, I've got a selection of floats in front of me here just to show you and run through. And I'll start off with this one. And this one is a Woodies. Now I don't know if Woodies still make floats or what, but this is a Avon Bolo style float. And it's only 2 grams, so it's only a baby. And as you can see, it's got a nice long side tip. This here is like kind of your average stick float, isn't it? And if you look at the side tips on the two of them, you know, there's a massive difference, isn't there? And I would say that's about the same, or carries about the same weight as this 2 gram float, I would imagine. But the difference is, you can't read that float, that stick float, you can't read it, can you? You know, it's either goes under or it's visible. So you have to strike every time it goes under, and you can't trot a long way with them really and have good visibility of them. They're not much copper. If it's choppy water, you've no chance, have you? Whereas this one gives you a big side tip to read. So if your bait catches bottom and kind of, you know, as long as it doesn't get stuck on the bottom, your float might not go under completely. It'll just pop under a little bit, like halfway up, and then just come back up again. So you don't have to strike at it there. And if you get a fish playing with your bait, like mouthing it as it goes along, so it's got it in its mouth most of the time when the float is bobbing about or going to one side. So you know then you can read it, that it's not the bottom and it's a fish, so you can strike and all being well you'll get it, won't you? Look it. You know, that's a small float, isn't it? 2 grams. There's another one here, I think this is 2.5 gram, yeah, 2.5 gram. Some more floats here. There's that one though, which is a Slim Bolo by Steve Mayer. I don't think you can get his floats anymore, but that's a Slim Bolo and that's only 1.5 grams. And look at the sight tip on that one. I mean, I prefer that one because it's fatter, the shorter, fatter one on the Woodies. But that one's one of those type what's hollow plastic, and it shows up very well with the light shining through it. But you know, you could use either of those on a very small river and you know, you'd have no problem. That's another Slim Bolo, what he did, Steve Mayer, and that's a 3 gram. So that's those. I do like my Steve Mayer floats, but he doesn't make them anymore, I'm sure he doesn't. So that one's an old Steve Mayer, and that's 3 grams carbon stemmed float. The Woodies was alloy stemmed, obviously. The other two Steve Mayers, they were carbon as well. But what it is with like, excuse me, more with the likes of this one, if you're trotting down a river and you've got it shotted down, say to the top of the shoulders there, and it's going along and you're fishing like just off bottom, if the riverbed starts to shallow off, then your bait's going to hit the bottom, isn't it? And if you're using something like the alloy stem here, this one, you don't get this reading the same on it. The reading is, as soon as your bait touches the bottom, this float bobs up like that. So it lets you know that the bottom is shallowing off, or maybe there's an obstacle, but usually it's it'll just bob up like that and stay like that as the float goes along, and as the bottom shallows off further and further, then the float will start to lean forward as the bait's dragging harder on the bottom. So then you know to hold it back, but you know you're on the bottom then. It's interesting, it's good, that. It's a cracking little float, that. He does some bigger ones. Well, he did some bigger ones. What's this one? This is one of his latest creations, and they started making them with slimmer sight tips. I don't know why. This other one here, which has been snapped, hasn't it? We've stuck it back together. That's a 5 grammer, and is it 5 gram? I think it's 6 now, you know. And it's got a thicker sight tip, hasn't it? A little fraction longer as well. That's an absolute belter, that. Really, really good float to see at distance. And when I got those, I don't think they had enough to fulfill the order. It's years ago, this, when I bought them. So they made it up with a couple of these ones here. Bit cheeky really, because they never even told me, but I won't bother because they're good ones, and these have got a wire stem, these. But it's got like a little target motif on it there. 6 gram that. And it is a belting float. It's even thicker tip than the Steve Mayer one. Tiny bit shorter, but it's a thicker tip. It's absolute cracker. And that's the only, I only got 2 of them, and I lost the other one. Sorry, no, it got broken when I was playing a fish. I was playing a fish and it got wrapped round a rock while I was playing the fish, and it damaged the float, snapped it all, too much to repair. In fact, that's what's happened to that one. But I've managed to push it together and glue it. So this is a cracker. This is probably my all-time favourite little float. It's a wire stem job, as you can see. It's a map bolo, 3 gram, with an excellent tip on it, you know. I mean, that big long tip on that bolo, I've just been on about late. Virtually as long. And that's just a little 3 gram float. And it's very, very visible and really good to read that tip. It casts as well, it casts really well, it casts like a dart, you know, even though it's only 3 gram. You put what I do is I'll put a 2.5 gram Olivettes on it and a little, either a number 1 or a BB as a dropper shot. I'll show those shots and that what I use in a minute. Some others what I like using. I've got this one here. This is a Dave Harrell. Number 2, I think it is. Is it number 2? I can't see proper in this light in here. Yeah, number 2 bolo, 5 gram that one. But again, it's, you know, you look at the sight tip, it's not as thick as that map. Probably around about the same length of tip, but not as thick. And it's a 5 gram one, that's only 3 gram. That's carbon stemmed as well, and that is a good float. So that's the number 2. I think, what's this one? It's the number 3, I think this is it. Can't really see, it's like got worn a bit. I think that's the number 3. And it's quite a fat thing, isn't it, that? But it has got a fat tip as well, a fat sight tip weight. It's a good float that if you're in turbulent water, even though it's got carbon stem, it still sits well in water. You know, it doesn't like, it won't flatten out like very easily or nothing like that when you're holding back in fast chop. Really good float, that cracker. So them are my 2 favourite ones. What Dave Harrell has. He has a selection of quite a lot, doesn't he? And then some other ones here. And these ones, I bought these floats off a chap on a fishing forum. I'll not say his name or what forum it is, because you might not want it on YouTube. But the good thing about them, when he supplies these floats, he supplies them with interchangeable tips. So you get those tips in yellow, and he gives you shorter ones as well if you want a shorter one, which I don't think I'm bothered about them, but it's nice to have the option of just slotting them out and slotting them back. And that's a 4.5 gram float, and they are really good though. I mean, look at the size of the sight tip on that thing. Fantastic, you can see it for miles off, tons to read. Again, this is the 6.5 gram version of that one. Absolute belters. On that same fishing forum, there's a chap, I'll not say his name again, he's a friend of mine. He makes his own very often, and this is an example of one of the ones where he makes. I mean, look at the size of the tip on that one. Now that tip, you can see that for miles, and you've got so much to read there. And then he's got a big wire stem on it, which I think he might have overdone the stem a little bit, but it's right, it's okay. Because it does cast really well with that heavy stem. And as I said, the sight tip is fantastic, isn't it? You know, you can see it for miles, and such a big float, like I think that's 4.5 gram, that, I think. But that, right, a minnow, I've caught minnows on that, they just rip it straight under, even little fish. So it's not like it's not sensitive just because it's big, it doesn't mean they're not sensitive. This one, I've used these quite regularly, is a Silver Light, it's called, and I think it's Benwick's Fishing Tackle Shop's own floats, these. I think they are, might be wrong. I know it's from Benwick's shop anyway. That's 6 gram, that one. And what that one has, it's got like a little wire loop there, what you can push your line through. There's a hole there, your line goes through that, in that hole, and it comes out on the opposite side at the bottom there, and then it obviously goes under a rubber there, and then you can have a rubber in the middle if you like, I do, or you can just have one at the bottom. But the only problem is that we're setting it up like that. If you want to change it for a different float, you have to completely detackle, you know, because your lines are going through it. So what I do very often is I'll just put a rubber at the top here, as usual, as the same as the rest, like same as with that one, you know. Put the rubber at the top, rubber there under the body, one in the middle and one at the end, and just use it as same as the rest of them. And then I can swap it over if I want to. And this one, I got two of these. I got this one, which was 8 grams. It's a Maver float from a shop in Ireland years ago. I got a 6 gram and this one's 8. I've never used this one. The 6 gram was absolutely fantastic though, and that's got removable tips as well, and those ones actually interchange with it, you know. But yeah, the other one where I had the 6 gram one, which I've used quite a lot, I actually lost that. I got stuck on a snag and it got all tangled up like on an old tree underwater, and that was the end of that. That was years ago though. Another float which I use but not very often is this Drennan loafer. I always thought they were called Chubbers, but you've got a loafer written on them when you look at it. This is an 8 gram one, and instead this is quite a modern one, like, and instead of like being like the old ones which was painted there, this one is kind of like, it's hollow, that tip. It's got, I don't know how they put it on, some kind of film of colour on it, so it lights up. It looks dull in the house here, but when you go outside it lights up because the light sun shines through it. And I always fish them with the rubber pushed on the body a bit there, and I'll leave some body sticking out like that, some shoulder. Otherwise it's like the stick float. If it catches bottom, with it being a short sight tip like that, it's either gone or it's there. You've got nothing really, hardly anything to read, you know. So as I say, I give myself that bit extra. I mean, very often I've seen people using them with the rubber like there. I just don't get that. It's not my style at all. It just seems mad to me. So that's how I have them set up anyway, and I'll just have one at the bottom and one, I'll put one there. A lot of people will just have one there, but then you've got a line like stretched across with a gap under it, so I always put one there. But yeah, that's ideal float, that for, you know, trotting a big lump of luncheon meat under it or something like that. That's what I've done with them anyway. Then there's this one, the Drennan titanium trotter it's called. Nice float like in it, but I don't like that stem. It's supposed to be unbreakable, but obviously you can't break it, but it does bend around quite a lot. But the trouble is, when you've got it on your line, if you go to slide your float, it's tight on your, and it bends around, like, it's really awkward to slide up and down your line. You've got to hold that stem when you drag it, either way. And again, that float tip, sight tip, is very similar to that one, isn't it? And it really easily gets pulled under that, you know, like. So again, I leave it with shoulder showing like that. I undershot it so as I've got more to read, like, Otherwise it's, again, it's like a bit like a you know, like a stick float. It's either there or it's not, and you have to strike, don't you, when it goes under. So yeah, that's the kind of floats I like using. There is one here, and that is all I've got to say on that. Really, look at the state of that. I think that's going in the bin actually. So yeah, that's the floats I like to use. I'll just move these out of the road, and then I can show you some other bits. Okay, I'll just show you that. It's just a Drennan specimen discarger, and that is the specimen size, as it says on specimen. And that'll do me for the hooks where I use for float fishing, which is like usually between 16s to an 8s, depending on what bait I'm using, and that'll unhook them all. And I usually use that even when they're lip hooked. I don't fiddle about with my fingers pulling them out. Very often I'll use that for the biggest part. Even if they're hooked perfectly, I still prefer to do it with that. It's a neater job getting hook out in it. But I always take about at least 3 or 4 of them with me in my bag. I was going to say I only have a small bag with me, but I could always do another video about that really, just to show what I carry, because I always go as light as possible. Yeah, so that's quite an important thing to take with you there, isn't it really? And then lines, there you go. A lot of people don't like that, do they? They really don't like it. I've not got the other one here with me, the spool of line, what I was going to show you. But that's Dave sensor anyway. It's like Marmite, isn't it? A lot of people hate it. Then there's people like me what love it. It's cheap. It's got 1150 on there, and I don't know what's the 2,320 meters on that for 11.5 quid. I didn't pay 11.5 quid for it actually. I think it was about a tenner I paid, a £10.50, quid cheaper. Yeah, and that's £6, which is 0.25mm diameter. And I think on test, they did a tackle test, don't they, line tests. I forgot who it is now who does it, somewhere down south. That they said it was under that, it was about 23. So it's slimmer diameter than what it says. It's very tough line really, I think, in comparison to others. A brace resistance, I think is what they call it. And it says £6 on here, but I think the actual breaking strain is nearer to £8, so it's brilliant now. I love it, mate. The next one where I like after that, which is about, I don't know how much it is now, it's got to be about 4 quid for 100 metres, is Bay Pearl on. But that's my favourite. I nearly always use that. It doesn't twist easily or anything like that. It's really good line, regardless of what everybody says on the well, not everybody, a lot of people don't like it. Yeah, and if I was going to use a hook length, which I very rarely do, there's this Ref Low Power, which is good. I don't know how much it is now. It was $4.99 when I bought that. I think that was like back in Middle Ages when I bought that. It's been there that long. So that's how often I use it, to be quite honest. I don't use it very often. And that is a really good hook length. Another one is Silstar Match Team. Excellent stuff. That's 0.6, is it 15 or 6? 0.16 now, and it's £5.5 breaking strain. So that would be an ideal one, or £6 in that, or even £7 in that, because it's so low diameter. To couple up with the £6 Daiwa sensor, you know, I'd probably use £8 in that to the £6 sensor, because I think that'll snap well in front of the, even an £8 I think it'll snap well in front of that sensor, you know, if you tie it together and give it a pull. So that's really good stuff, both of those things for hook length. As I say, I prefer to fish straight through when I'm fishing for barbel. I was going to show you some little attachments for putting that on. it's either a little swivel into it, and they do another one which is like it has a little black rubber thing what pushes up. You've got an oot, and you just oot your loop on it if you put a loop on your oot length, and then pull the rubber down. Some people use them, or you can use a micro swivel, and people kind of use them as a replacement for the bottom shot, you know, the dropper shot. So they'll just use one of them rather than bothering with a dropper shot. These are my favourite Olivettes here. The lock slide ones by Drennan, but unfortunately that's the biggest they go up to as far as I know, which is 4 grams. So if I'm using one of them and I'm using a 6 gram float, then I have to top it up with a bit of shot plus my dropper. I usually just put a treble A on or something, or is it an SSG? I don't know, I forgot. But I'll just stick one of them on and just make it so all the tip is showing on the float. I always like a lot of tip showing on the floats. But with them, like, they come with a little tube, a little rubber tube there. Cut a couple of pieces off, slide your line down through it, through the 2 pieces, and then there's a little like peg on the end, top and bottom on them, and you just push the peg into that one on your line, and pull the other one down, push it on top, and then it slides up and down your line. That's why it's called lock slide, and they very rarely move once you've got them on your line, unless you move them to where you want them. And there's some what Dave Harrell does. Same thing, slightly different shape and colour. Like these are more like, I don't know, they're big, aren't they? And they're quite fat, like, you know, wide. But you know, they're heavier than those if you don't want to faff about with shot, like. And I think he does them in quite a wide range. Dave Harrell, quite a wide range of sizes. I'm not even sure if he goes up to about 10 or 12 gram. I'm not sure. So I can't say for sure, but I do know that he does them like, well, that's 6 gram, and I'm positive he goes quite a bit bigger than that. So them's what I use, and I use usually a number 1 or a BB as a dropper with one of those. Hooks wise, these are my favourite ones. For a long time, 20 years I've liked these ones, Drennan Animals. Sorry, not, well, they are Drennan, aren't they, but Camerson, part of Drennan, I think. They're really, really good hooks, those. Fantastic. But when I first saw them, I thought, that silver might put fish off. But it hasn't. And if anything, I think that little flash, if there's a bit of a flash visible, I think that attracts the fish, and, like, you know, probably kind of inspires them to take your bait. So them are good ones. Them's 14s, and that's my go-to size for Barbel and Chub. But, you know, I might go to a 16s, or I might go to an 8 in some hooks. So them are really good ones, I like them. This one here is the original Super Spade. Again, use them in the same sizes, and they are fantastic. And then we've got these come out after them, I think. Before this other Acolyte. This is the Acolyte Gripper, and they're good ones. That's a 12s, but if you look at it, you probably can't see in here, but it's a 12s, but it's only the same size as a 14s, because I did get 14s in them. I was a bit pissed off because I bought the 14s. I bought about 6 packs of them, and they're too small for me. If the Spade was bigger, they'd be alright, I could still use them, but the Spade's very small on them. And using that line where I do, that straight through, that 6 pound sensor, it's too thick really, you know, but it's okay on that on the 12s. So I'll just use the other ones when I use length or something, you know. So they'll probably be there forever. And then they did the Super Spade, that one. They did a Super Spade, but in an Acolyte, and that's like a Teflon coated hook, isn't it? And I think it's thinner gauge wire, but them ones and those other Acolyte grippers, the hook points stay sharp for ages and ages. They're really good in that respect. In fact, they're both fantastic hooks, all of them, you know. I can't fault any of them. And then another bunch of hooks I use, and I don't think you can get these now. I think they've stopped making them. Is the Browning Sphere. You know, they did the range of rods and reels and this, that and the other in the Sphere range. I have a couple myself, and they are really good rods. But these hooks, that's a 14s, and it's really wide gape in it, which is good. The hooks are good hooks, like, but they're a big hook for the size. You know, you look at that one, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Come here, if I could get it. Got itself squished down there, hasn't it? You know, I can't be bothered getting a metric pack because I'd probably drop them all. But yeah, there's the two together. Well, that 14 Sphere, it's massive. You might not be able to see them, but take my word for it. Those 14 Spheres are big hooks for the size. But they do them in all different range of sizes, or they did. The problem with those, what I don't like about them, is they don't keep the point very well. And yet they should do, because they're hook round. They're proper like claw, you know, they go right round like an animal. So I don't know why they get blunt very quick, because they do. And I think that is about that for this lot. As I said, there was some. I mean, I could talk about my landing nets, what I use, because I do a lot of wading. You know, it's difficult to get a nice wading net. You know, what's big enough for barbel. If you need to net them very often, up to about £7, I can just hand them out. When they get bigger than that, they get a bit wide and that, you know, and awkward to get your hand round and keep hold of them. So I might do another video on them, you know, on the wading nets, and maybe my tackle bags as well, because as I say, I just use slings now rather than anything else, like the fly fishermen type slings, and they're really good. Oh, okay, I'm going to leave it at that then, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.